What's going on, everybody? You have Tone here, and I'm here bringing you guys my Teambuilder and battle for the CPC Season 7 week number 4, where this week we are taking on the Amityville Ampharos and their head coach Krypto. And before going further into the video, I do want to say happy holidays, happy new year, all that stuff. I planned on getting this video out a lot sooner than I did right now, but things just kept coming up on my end and I never got the opportunity to record this video, so I'm unfortunately recording this in 2019 when I already played the game back in 2018, so just have to go back and look back on last year one more time before I can officially put 2018 behind us, or behind me at the very least, but just trying to put 2018 behind me and hopefully end the year off with a win, because as you see, we are 0-3 heading into our Week 4 matchup against Krypto and his Amityville Ampharos, and his team is ridiculously scary. His team consisting of the Landorus Incarnate, Sheer Force Allowed, Tapu Bulu, Heatran, Keldeo, Mega Beedrill, Raikou, Mandibuzz, Uxie, Abomasnow, and Licky Licky, with his Z moves users being the Keldeo and the Abomasnow. So right away, looking at the matchup heading into this game, Landorus Incarnate absolutely scared the crap out of me, just because of the fact that it literally does not need much in terms of coverage to just annihilate my team. Like, the fact that my ground resist, at the very least, is coming between Ferrothorn, in a sense, and my two flying types, which gets destroyed by Hidden Power Ice or Rock Slide, whatever the case may be. The first thing going through my mind was, man, like a Rock Polish Landorus Incarnate just decimates my entire roster. But the thing with Lando I was the fact that it did have some sort of 4-move slot syndrome at the very least. Like, Earth Power was definitely spammable against my team. It hit everything that wasn't Mega Pidgeot or Thunder Asterion, and then for both of them he could just run like Rock Slide. And then for the 4th move he could run Sludge Wave for Primarina, or he could just go a different option with like I forgot what the other move on Lando I was for, like hitting Necrozma in some way, shape, or form, I guess. But just in retrospect, Lando I was just a huge problem to my team. And at the same time, I wanted to build it a way so that Lando I didn't like overtake my entire building process in terms of putting this team together. I mean, I didn't want to go into the new year 0-4, so I really had to try my best in terms of putting together a solid team for this matchup. As for the rest of his mons, of course, the Bulu Trancor, known for just being a real pain in the behind, and then he has stuff like Keldeo, which can be a pretty big issue, but luckily for me, I do have Primarina, which can deal with that pretty decently well. Mega Beedrill can be a little bit annoying with its pivoting and whatnot, and I don't really have a good way of stopping it on this team, as my best response to Beedrill would essentially be between Piloswine and Ferrothorn, which you can just U-turn out of both of them, and then you can just go out into Heatran and then blow both of them back with like Fire and Steel coverage respectively. But it is what it is. I can't really like try to get myself into a situation where I try to like prevent him from pivoting or whatnot. I had to make all these crazy plays. Like, there was no way around that for the most part. So yeah, with all that being said and done, let's just jump right into the team that I brought for this matchup. So the first Pokemon you see here is my Piloswine. Very straightforward in terms of moveset. And I am just a very straightforward max HP, max special defense set, because this is literally the only thing on my team that I am bringing that can switch in on Lando I at least once. Well, I digress. There's also now a Necrozma, but Necrozma is going to be serving a different purpose for this matchup. So the main idea with Piloswine, coming on Landorus, quote unquote, and try to take a hit. I could take I could take at least 2 Earth Powers from full, even if he's Life Orb. But if he predicts me and goes for Focus Blast, then he can actually knock me out. But mainly, the idea with Palo Swine is just to try to get up rocks. That's really all I'm really concerned about in terms of this matchup, is getting up my rocks, since his way of getting rid of hazards comes down to... It literally just comes down to defog Landorus or defog Mega Beedrill, or if he runs Taunt on something like Heatran or Keldeo, one of those things. And defog Mandibuzz, yes, which is also another... kind of a big issue for my team, but luckily I can try to pressure offensively with the combination of my Garchomp and my Terrakion, which I'll get into in just a second. But after my Piloswine, just a very straightforward set, max HP, max special defense. Like I said, just my best way of switching into the Landorus Incarnate as best as I possibly can. Set's very straightforward. Stealth Rock, Ice Shard for priority, Ice Cold Crash for the Landorus and the Bulu, and EQ for the Heatran. So, next up is my Mega Pidgeot with Hurricane, Hidden Power Ground, Toxic, and Roost with 48 HP, max special attack 208 in speed with a timid nature. It's enough speed to outspeed his Raikou, and everything slower than that. So, the idea with my Mega Pidgeot is mainly the fact that I can freeze spam Hurricane, and the nice thing about this is the fact that even though he has the Tapu Bulu, Hidden Power Ground is unaffected by grassy terrain, so Heatran will be taking the full brunt of Mega Pidgeot's Hidden Power Ground head on, and if he's not running any... Like, if he's not specially defensive, he gets clean 2-KO'd by Hidden Power Ground. Toxic is nice for the Uxie, the Mandibuzz, and the Licky Licky. And then Roost is just there for longevity for the most part. This is a very straightforward Mega Pidgeot set. Nothing much to say about that. It's my way of checking stuff like Keldeo and checking other stuff like his Tapu Bulu at the very least. So that is pretty much it for my Mega Pidgeot. Next up is my Garchomp here with Rocky MZ, Swords Dance, Poison Jab, Stone Edge, and Earthquake. Just a very straightforward max attack, max speed set. This allows me to outspeed his Landorus Incarnate, non-scarfed, and the idea with my Garchomp is just to try to get up Swords Dance, weaken his bulkier mons, his Uxie, his Mandibuzz, the Licky Licky, to the point where I can potentially win in the late game with either my Terrakion or the Necrozma. That's pretty much the main reasoning for this set. Rocky MZ to do more damage to the Mandibuzz, and it pretty much has his entire team. I hit something for a good amount of damage with Continental Crush with my Garchomp. Earthquake is for the Heatran, as I mentioned. Poison Jab is there for the Bulu. Just a very straightforward set with the Eevee spreads. Nothing really fancy to say about that. So, moving on, we have our Primarina with leftovers, Rest, Sleep Talk, Scald, and Moonblast with max HP, 216 defense, 40 special defense with a calm nature. This is my dedicated response to his Keldeo, as I don't really have much on my team that can directly switch in on Keldeo. Primarina is my response to that 100%, and is actually a big problem for my team, considering that not only is it one of his Z users, it's also a status Z user, so he can potentially do Z Rain Dance alongside Calm Mind and just completely blow back my team with a combination of Hydro Pump and Secret Sword, and just like blow me sideways. And I didn't want that to happen for the most part. So that's exactly what my Primarina is here for. Rest to keep itself healthy to better deal with Keldeo. And also absorb any potential status like Toxic from Licky Licky or Mandibuzz. And then Scald, Moonblast, didn't really need much else in terms of coverage. Scald was nice for potentially getting a burn on Tapu Bulu if we decide to switch that in directly. And then Moonblast is just there for the Keldeo, for Mandibuzz, pretty much everything else on his team. So as for the investment, the HP and the special defense investment, while this may seem a bit of a stretch in terms of a calc, I want to take everything into consideration. So the investment, the HP and special defense investment, prevents my Primarina from being 2-KO'd by an unboosted Hidden Power Grass from Keldeo after Stealth Rock under grassy terrain. Yes, I went that far with the investment. It may be minuscule, but at the same time, if he brings that Bulu and he brings the Keldeo, and Primary is my dedicated response to Keldeo, if he decided to click HP Grass, without this investment I get clean 2 a KO after rocks. I did not want that to happen, and I would pretty much lose my defensive switching to the Keldeo, and I did not want that to happen. And the rest I just threw into defense to better take on stuff, better take physical hits from. Wasn't really much physical attackers on his team, but I guess they can like take hits from stuff like Mandibuzz, if anything. So there is that to take into consideration. So moving on now to one of my main win cons on this team, and that is a sub SD Salic Berry dual stab Terrakion. Again, just a very straightforward max attack, max speed set to allow me to speed tie with the Keldeo. If I'm able to get up a sub on something as I force something out with my Terrakion, and then get up an SD, the combination of Stone Edge with close combat just hits his entire team neutrally. And if I'm able to get to activate my Salic Berry, he doesn't really have much in terms of priority outside of Aqua Jet Keldeo. And I start a Abomasnow. Like, those are really the two main things he has on his team in terms of priority. But if I'm able to get up a Swords Dance and activate my Salic Berry, he really doesn't have much in terms of switching in on a +2 Stone Edge or a +2 Close Combat. The combination of the two just does a tremendous amount of work in this game, and hopefully I'm able to pull it off in this respect, and hopefully he's not Choice Scarf Keldeo and I lose a speed tie, so have to take that into consideration too. So yeah, so I just threw the 4 into HP so I can get the Salic Berry to activate after 3 uses of Substitute. So that is the Terrakion, and lastly is my backup win con, or whichever one comes first, which is Weakness Policy Autotomize Necrozma with Autotomized Photon Geyser, Earth Power, and Hidden Power Ice, with 172 HP, 164 special attack, 172 speed with a timid nature. So this was designed to be the late game win con. The idea going into this matchup was to use Terrakion to soften his team to the point where I can then autotomize with my Necrozma and then just clean up in the late game with Photon Geyser, Earth Power, Hidden Power Ices for the Lando T, and it's also my only real way of hitting that Mandibuzz super effectively. And it's actually the only thing I have to hit the Uxie super effectively. So the idea is to try to set up when Uxie is gone or Mandibuzz is weakened. If I'm able to activate my Weakness Policy and get my Autotomize up, I can just win the game in the late game, which is just fantastic. So the HP investment is enough to guaranteed live an Adamant Adaptability U-turn from Mega Beedrill after rocks. The speed investment is enough to guarantee outspeed Choice Scarf Keldeo after an Autotomized boost, because I really didn't think he would bring Scarf Raikou when I have a Garchomp and a Piloswine. Like, it really would make no sense to bring a Choice Scarf Electric type against 2 ground types on the team. Like, it's kind of asking for trouble in that regard. So I decided to focus on outspeeding Choice Scarf Keldeo, and the rest I put into special attack to boost the power of its main attacking moves. So that is the team for this week, and hopefully we can end 2018 with a win. So without further ado, let's just switch right on over to the battle and see how we did. Alright guys, so here we are at the battle against the Amityville Ampharos, and the first thing I noticed, there is no Lando I, and I was so relieved to not see Lando I on my screen. Like a huge weight just lifted off my shoulders, not gonna lie. So my Piloswine's usefulness in this game is literally just getting up rocks and trying to chip something down. In this game, he did not bring the Bulu either, which leads me to believe that his response... Actually, it does make sense that he didn't bring Bulu, considering the fact that I have a Mega Pidgeot. He probably did fear Poison Jab on my Garchomp as it outsped, and Scarf Bulu would just become setup fodder for like a couple other mods on my team. Not Mega Pidgeot, but like Drapion or whatnot. But as you see, the team he brought, he decided to bring the Keldeo, Abomasnow, Mega Beedrill, Licky Licky Heatran, and the Uxie. So in terms of a lead matchup here, I figured my best overall lead would be my Mega Pidgeot. At the very least, it would allow me... It gives me a good amount of options because I figured his most likely lead would have been either the Beedrill or the Uxie. If you left with the Uxie, I would just go for Toxic right away as he gets up his rocks. At the very least, I can just spam Hurricane afterwards because he can't go hard Heatran unless he's Sugar Berry or he's like a more offensive like Scarf variant. I don't know if he was Scarf at this point. It just... The composition of his team was leading me more to believe that the Heatran was rocks, or not rocks, that the Uxie was rocks with like Memento into Calm Mind Keldeo, and Abomasnow was there to deal with my Primarina, and he also had Beedrill. So I'm thinking in my mind that Keldeo is the biggest threat to my team, even though I have the Mega Pidgeot as a check. And I have Primarina, I do have to make sure that the Keldeo does not get up any opportunity to potentially set up in this game. So with that all being said, let's just start the battle here. So like I said, I'm going to lead off with my Mega Pidgeot here, as he is going to lead off with his Mega Beedrill. So right away, turn 1, the first thing I was going through my head was, okay, if he's adamant like I'm expecting him to be, Poison Jab will actually knock me out, I believe. It knocked me out, because there was a point where I actually wanted to EV my Mega Pidgeot to live a Poison Jab from Mega Beedrill, but then I was like, it really made no sense to try to go that far in terms of investing for my Mega Pidgeot, just try to keep it offensive. And what I ended up doing here, I just went for the conservative play. I went straight for the Hurricane, although I really felt like going for Roost, because I thought he would probably make me overpredict and go for U-turn, because I thought he would make me go out into Palisade. But I'm going to Mega Evolve. I'm going to click Hurricane. He's going to Mega Evolve, click U-turn. He does 39%, so that's clearly adamant. As he goes on to Licky Licky here, I click Hurricane, do about 41%. And from here, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go into my Garchomp here. He's going to go for Protect. Obviously, he's going to fail. And I believe here I'm going to go for Swords Dance as he switched out into his Uxie. I guess he was expecting me to go for the Earthquake. So now he's going to reveal Protect here as I go for my Rocky MZ. And the only reason why I went for Rocky MZ at that point was mainly because I thought at this point... Well, first and foremost, I didn't need Rocky MZ. I didn't need the Z move on my Garchomp at all because he didn't bring Mandibuzz either. So I figured at that point it was free damage off on Uxie, and that any damage off on Uxie makes it more easier for me for my potential end game with my Necrozma, and also weakens it to the point where it's also putting it closer and closer in range to my Terrakion Stone Edge. So I figured get off as much damage as I could with plus two Continental Crush, and then from there I would just keep spamming Stone Edge or Poison Jab until it dropped. So I believe at this point I'm gonna go for another Swords Dance because I figured he would go for Rocks, and if he revealed Foul Play, then it was all well and good. So I go for Swords Dance again, as he's actually going to go for the U-turn here, which was a very solid play. He here turns out into his Keldeo, which forces me out, go out into my Primarina, as he is going to fire off his own Z-move, being these Hydro Vortex, and I did 37 to my Primarina. So at this point, now that I see he was Waterium Z, he's not Choice Scarf, which means my Pidgeot will always be able to outspeed and knock the thing out with a Hurricane. So I figured at this point, firing off a Moonblast was essentially free because the only thing I could really come in on Moonblast is either the Heatran, which would fierce the water move, or the Licky Licky. And since I essentially, well, I didn't reveal it yet, but since he's going to see leftovers and not like I'm not going to reveal an item, he's not going to think I'm choice specs or anything, so he figures that the Licky Licky is the safest play for him. So he's going to go to Licky Licky. I have fire off a moon, and I actually get a crit, which does suck in the long run. But at the very least, I was just trying to get damage off to the point where I could just go out into either my Terrakion, or I can go back out into my Garchomp and try to force the issue again with forcing him out. So I figured at this point he would try to go for a Wish. So I figured I'd try to, at the very least, try to keep the momentum up. I didn't do any calcs, but pretty sure that Moonblast wasn't going to knock out Licky Licky at this range, because if a crit did 43, I'm assuming that a regular Moonblast was going to do like 20% to this Licky Licky, especially if he was max Spadef on this Licky Licky. So I'm just going to fire off a Moonblast here, thinking I would get the some sort of roll, but I don't get the roll. As he goes for the Wish, I think another special attack drops. Now I'm going to go out into my Mega Pidgeot, as he's going to go for Protect. I figured the Protect would be too obvious. As he gets his gets some health back here, I'm going to go fire off a Toxic. And the reasoning for Toxic was mainly I thought he would try to. It was two plays. The two main reasons I had to go for clicking Toxic was, if this thing had Heal Bell, he would have already revealed 3 of his 4 moves. If his last move was like knockoff or whatnot, because he hasn't revealed an attack yet. He just went for Wish and Protect at this point. So I don't know if he's Heal Bell or if he has no Heal Bell and 2 attacking moves or whatever the case may be. But I figured putting this thing on a timer is also great because it's another thing I needed to weaken for my Necrozma along with that Uxie. So I figured if he went hard Uxie on my Hurricane, I just goes for Stealth Rock. I'm like, okay, I can just go fire up a Toxic, put that thing on a timer, another thing weakened from my Necrozma and my Terrakion at this point. And at this point, he's going to throw up another Wish. I believe I go for Hurricane. I know I double Toxic this turn. Yeah, I double Toxic because I thought he would. My reasoning for double Toxic again was I thought he would try to pass the Wish into Uxie at that point to try to get some health to get back up to full, because Uxie was his main response for my Terrakion, because nothing else on his team wants to deal with close combat plus Stone Edge. So he goes out into his Heatran on my Toxic, solid play. So at this point, I don't know what his item is. I'm thinking he's Shuka, as I don't see an Air Balloon. So I think I made the safe play. I wanted to pop the Shuka Berry on the Heatran, just the potential Shuka Berry. Like, he wasn't Shuka Berry in the actual game. So I'm gonna go for Hidden Power Ground. He makes the double into his Mega Beedrill, expecting me to not click Hurricane at that point. So he gets his Mega Beedrill in, and I'm like, okay, this is not good. Mainly because of the fact that I don't have any real counterplay to this. I need my Pidgeot around because it's the only thing on my team that can check. It checks Keldeo offensively. It can deal with Abomasnow if I keep it at a good amount of HP. And it's the only thing I have to whittle down the Uxie, because it's the only thing on my team with Toxic. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make the play out into my Piloswine. And the main reason for that is the fact that Piloswine's actually doing nothing in this game. Like, as soon as I try to get up rocks with my Piloswine, it's served its purpose. Like, there's nothing else I can do. So I got on my Piloswine, he revealed Toxic Spikes, and I'm like, okay, well, there goes the Terrakion. The potential Terrakion sweep going out down the drain. Or at the very least, I can't set up a sub, because I'll be whittling myself down, and my Pidgeot doesn't have defog, so Toxic Spikes are here to stay. But at the very least, it's not that big of a deal, because of the fact that I have my Primarina is Rest Talk, so I don't care about Toxic Spikes. And all I really care about with my Piloswine right now is just getting up Stealth Rock. So I'm going to get up my rocks here as he goes for the U-turn, does 44%. He U-turns down into Keldeo, I get my rocks up, and I'm just going to let my Piloswine go down here to the Hydro Pump. I just clicked Earthquake in case he missed. And now he goes out into my Mega Pidgeot. And now he's forced out here. He goes back out into Heatran as I go for the safe Hurricane. And now I go for Hidden Power Ground here as he reveals he is Choice Scarf, but we live the Hidden Power Ice from the Heatran, and we take out the Heatran with our Hidden Power Ground. So that crit did not end up mattering because he was offensive. The normal damage roll was like 56 min from his Heatran investments from my Mega Pidgeot, so more or less it would have been either a low roll or something like that. I would have just gone on to Primarina and essentially just killed it outright that way. But at the very least, the Heatran is out of the way, which is nice, but now I have my Pidgeot severely weakened at 3%. And I know for a fact his play is to go out into Abomasnow. Like, there's no other reason for him not to, because of the fact that... Oh, actually, hold on. There we go. Mainly because of the fact that he's Snow Warning, and the fact that he just goes out into it, just screams he's going to click Ice Shard. So, I'm going to make a kind of questionable play, but I felt at this point it was the right play, because between these two mons, Pidgeot was more important. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm actually going to end up sacking off my Garchomp here, because literally Garchomp, it's not really able to check anything else, or whittle down anything else on this team. And the other reasoning is I don't want my Terrakion to take a, I want my Terrakion to come in at full HP like it is right now. So the thing with Garchomp is the only thing Garchomp was doing was going to whittle down, sorry about that, it was really only going to whittle down Licky. As long as I have my Terrakion, I don't need it for that. And I can whittle down Uxie with my... just by spamming Stone Edge, because he doesn't have... his Stone Edge resist is Keldeo now with Heatran essentially out the way. And I can essentially play this like I'm Choice Scarfed. So I could just spam Stone Edge to my heart's content now, because now that I'm poisoned, I can't really do my Salic Sword Stance shenanigans like I intended to, but that's totally fine. So I'm just gonna click Stone Edge here and take out into his Uxie. Takes the rock damage. We hit the Stone Edge, thankfully. Does 35%, which is great. Because like I said, now the game plan is to try to win with my Necrozma in the late game. So I'm just going to spam Stone Edge here as he clicks Protect. Tries to gets the Hail and the Poison residual on my Terrakion. We hit the next Stone Edge and we knock out the Uxie. So now my end game, my potential end game with my Necrozma is looking very, very nice at this point. But now that I'm at 63%, I'm figuring his play is to go out into his Beedrill and like, let's see if I'm indeed Choice Scarf, because I've just been clicking Stone Edge the entire time. But he's actually going to go out into his Keldeo here and potentially risk the Speed Tie. But I'm just going to go back into my Primarina as he's going to click Secret Sword. Does 22%. But now I'm going to go for Rest here as he actually reveals Protect. So seeing how he has the Toxic Spike up, I see his game plans to whittle down my bulkier mons with Toxic Spikes and Protect shenanigans. But I'm going to get the Moonblast on the Sleep Talk here, which is great. Get some chip damage off on Licky. I'm going to go back and make the aggressive switch into my Mega Pidgeot. And the reasoning for going hard Mega Pidge is because of the fact that I'm not expecting him to go for an attack here. I figured that me being asleep with my Primarina meant that Wish was super, super free. So now this is also essentially another 50-50, because what this means is I could either go for Hurricane because his Hurricane resist is gone, or I can try to Roost and get some health back on my Mega Pidgeot. But if he goes for an attack on my Roost, that's actually bad for me, because I thought at that point, if he gets any more HP back on Licky, even though he's toxic, I would rather weaken this, keep the Licky low, put it into a position where I can still win with my Necrozma in the end game, So I figured it'd be in my best interest to just click Hurricane, because there's not really much he can do in terms of attacking me. Like, he can knock me out, but at the same time, if he doesn't protect here, I knock him out with Hurricane, because the first Hurricane did 43. He's at 38%. So I'm going to click Hurricane as I'm going to get the prediction right. So he expected me to roost that turn. So he expected me to roost that turn on the expected protect, but I figured keeping up the offensive momentum with my Mega Pidgeot would be a lot better in this situation, because he has no flying switches anymore, and without protecting, he would have put himself in range of Hurricane even if he did protect. So he made the aggressive play, and unfortunately didn't work out for him. But now he goes go back out into his Abomasnow, and here I'm thinking, okay, he's gonna click Ice Shard again. So what's my ideal play? So at this point, I'm like, okay, I still need to make a Pidgeot for the Primarina. For the Keldeo, excuse me. So I figured, okay, he's gonna click an Ice move. He's gonna go for Ice Shard here. I'm gonna go onto my Primarina, because why would he not click Ice Shard? So I'm gonna call that play. I'm gonna go into my Primarina. I expect him to go for Ice Shard here, as he's actually going to make a great play and goes for the Energy Ball, and does half to my Primarina, and also gets a special defense drop, which sucks, but at the same time, I can't really switch out my Primarina now, because I'm now going, I let my Primarina drop there, because I really thought that preserving Mega Pidgeot would be better than preserving my Primarina, because Primarina was only there for the Keldeo, and since Abomasnow took out Primarina, I figured, okay, let my Primarina go down, go out into my Terrakion, revenge kill this with close combat. So that was my thought process heading into this turn, but he was scarfed. So he was essentially he was double scarfed on his. So he was Scarf Abomasnow and Scarf Heatran, which sucks. Because it really sucks, because I really, really wanted to get that that potential Salic Berry shenanigan going with my Terrakion, but it didn't work out, which sucks. So now I'm forced to go out into my Necrozma. So I go into my Necrozma, get poisoned by Toxic Spikes, and I figured at this point, he goes into Keldeo, and I'm thinking, okay, since he's Choice Scarf Abomasnow, he locks himself into Energy Ball. Energy Ball, I would take the hit, but I can autotomize. And after an autotomize, I outspeed this Scarf Abomasnow, and I just spam Photon Geyser, because he has no Psychic Resist anymore either. So I go for the autotomize here, honestly switches out into his Keldeo, which is great, because now that means that I outspeed everything on his team now, and Photon Geyser is just extremely, extremely free. So now he's forced to play the Protect sack game, which essentially means he's going to protect with Keldeo, sacks off the Abomasnow here, and then he's going to go back out into Keldeo, protect, then sack off Beedrill, protect again, and then essentially hope that at some point it's going to essentially comes down to whether or not it's in range of where I'll explain it more when I get to that part, but essentially it's just a protect sack game on Krypto's end. He's forced to sack off his Abomasnow, and now he sacks off his Mega Beedrill, and now he goes back out into Keldeo, and he's going to protect one more time, as the hail plus the poison damage will knock out my Necrozma. But at the very least, this does leave me available to go out into my Mega Pidgeot. And I'm just going to be able to go for Hurricane, as he's going to protect and fail. I knock out the Keldeo, and we are going to pick up a very narrow 1-0 win. So the end game didn't quite go the way I wanted it to, but in retrospect, this was a fantastic game. If only for he actually would have won if he had one more turn of hail. But as you see, that turn, if he got the double protect, I wouldn't have died, because hail would have ended that turn. So, and since I outsped the Keldeo, since he wasn't scarfed, I would have won the battle regardless. So, the end game sort of changed after the Autotomize, because I figured that the biggest necessity for me would be keeping my Mega Pidgeot around enough to the point where I could still pressure the Keldeo. And once I was able to get the Autotomize up with my Necrozma, then I knew for a fact that I had a chance to win my Pidgeot. It didn't even matter that Necrozma was going to get stalled out by the Keldeo. As long as I was able to knock out the Beedrill, like the main ones were the Beedrill and the Abomasnow. Those were the two main instances. The other thing he could have did was he could have stayed in with Abomasnow on my Autotomize and clicked Energy Ball. Then he could have sacked off Abomasnow, gone out into Keldeo, protected, sacked off Beedrill, and it essentially would have probably been the same thing, the same scenario, although I think he would have had at least one more turn of Hail. I'm not really sure how that sequence of events would have happened, but the additional chip damage from Energy Ball would have definitely have made the game it would have been a lot more nerve-wracking, and I potentially could have lost this game. But regardless, this was a great game to end 2018, I'm not gonna lie. This was just a nail battle down to the wire, and I really felt like I played the game. I felt like I kept the game plan close. I had my strategy going into it. The Toxic Spike did throw off the ability of setting with my Terrakion, but being able to Autotomize with my Necrozma, pressure his team in the late game with my Necrozma to the point where he essentially had to sack off everything faster than Mega Pidgeot, and sack off his main priority as well, really put me in the position where my Mega Pidgeot could end up winning in the late game. So yeah, so we end 2018 on a high note. We pick up our first win in the CPC. We are now 1-3 on the back of Mega Pidgeot picking up 3 kills in that game. So again, good game to Krypto. That was a fun game, a very close nail-biting win. And this game had everything. It had suspense. It had it had all these predictions and all that stuff. But this, like I said, it was a really, really fun game. Can't complain about how this game ended. I would have been completely fine if I lost this game. I knew that if I just kept, it just came down to preserving the right Pokemon, and I felt like I did towards the end with picking and choosing my spots with my Necrozma, keeping that thing healthy, and then Primarina did its job. Like I think everyone on my team did its job. That's pretty much what it came down to. So yeah, that's gonna be it from me, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And here's hoping 2019 will go just as well as 2018 did. So that's gonna be it from me again. Hope you guys did enjoy. And until the next time, guys, this is Tone signing out for now. Peace out.